Right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The Minister of Finance, Honorable Neil Reichenberg, has announced the revised threshold for personal travelers declaring goods at customs border posts. The allowance has been increased from 1,000 emalangeni to 10,000 emalangeni effective Friday this week. We are now joined by Business Eswatini's Chief Executive, Inati Dlamini, who is going to help us unpack what it is that this announcement means for the country. We want to discuss how this will be, or how this revised threshold, rather, will affect travelers, how it's going to affect businesses, whether it will indeed ease the movement of goods, and how it may contribute to improving the business environment in Eswatini. Welcome to the program, Mr. Inati Dlamini. Perhaps just give us your initial reaction to this latest announcement by Minister Neil Reichenberg.
I think it's good. Depending on the regulations, it could also be not too good, and I will explain why.
Again, the lift is a threshold from 1,000 emalangeni to 10,000 emalangeni, 10 times higher. I want to understand from a business perspective, right, what signal does this send about government's intentions around easing trade and improving traveler experience at border posts?
Okay, first of all, I think maybe the first explanation is that maybe government knows very well the effects of inflation, right? Because when 1,000 was affected some years ago, if I can say from a power purchasing the parity point of view, how much is 1,000 10 years ago? It probably end up with this 8,000 today. So effectively, find that by increasing 10,000, no, they haven't actually increased anything. That's one thing, which means they probably know economics. That's another thing. But then again, you come into your question: what implications? What does it say about a business? And I will answer you, knowing very well that I'm also the chairman of the Eswatini campaign, right? And if you open up the border post for imports, what are you saying about the Eswatini campaign? And I will explain. First of all, some people say it's the 10,000 per day. No, it's the 10,000 per month. Please let's note that. So if as a person I go buy today 1,000, they will be tracking it. If I buy another 3,000, it's 10,000 a month, and they need the receipts. You have to wonder, why do they need my receipts? Because probably they will claim the VAT. Anyway, so government doesn't lose anything here. And it only applies to individuals, not businesses. And I think not vendors. So I think let's look at it from that point of view. And also know this, the minister has made an announcement. We are yet to receive all the regulations to it. And I don't think they will just launch it and effect it without the regulations. And I've made a few phone calls today, and they've assured me the regulations are coming. And what I'm telling you, I'm not totally out of line.
Thank you for making that proactive step, because it further informs our conversation this afternoon. But one wants to understand in practical terms, how does this shift change the experience for an ordinary traveler who crosses the border for groceries, who crosses the border for supplies, for fuel, or small-scale trading?
Look, to be honest with you, as much as we encourage everybody to shop locally, there are services that you may find that I cannot find here, which means I have to go to Nelspruit. And they're usually well above 1,000 rand. That's just the impact of inflation everywhere. And with a 1,000 limit, I mean, what are you trying to say? What is it that costs 1,000 rand now coming from South Africa? So I would say, on one level, the minister was trying to be sensible. And also, maybe at another level, he was trying to be alive to the harsh and commercial realities of trade and the attendant fees involved in trading. I think he just was being practical. And the mere fact that this does not affect importing businesses, I love it because this is just only for personal consumption. And we know that personal consumption coming from South Africa it's so minuscule compared to the businesses, what they buy in South Africa, bringing the country. So I am not worried. I think it's something good. It won't be extremely harmful. But for now, I would urge that we wait for the regulations, and once they come, and I've been assured that it's going to be a matter of days, let's look at them and come back here and litigate this issue again together.
The conversation around a lot of border posts in the Kingdom of Eswatini, especially Ngwenya, Lavumisa, and Lomahasha, facing long queues. It's an everyday reality. There's understaffing at the same time, but there's also infrastructure constraints. Does raising the threshold meaningfully transform things if the environment itself remains slow and outdated?
No, to be honest with you, if you ask and say, what is it that's causing the jams there? It's the thing of having, I have to declare things for 800 Rand. I have to declare things for 100. It just causes so much traffic and and it's a lot of nothing that you are trying to declare anyway. But now with the increase in this, you'll see how seamless probably it will become. Um, you'll see how seamless it will become. And by the way, there's also exciting news coming out of Lavomisa in terms of change of border hours. But let me not tell you now. I'll tell you when everything is okay. So there are very good things happening through the border system. I can tell you right now.
We appreciate you whispering other developments happening in the sidelines. Look, small informal traders often operate on razor-thin margins. Does this increase actually reduce friction for them, or do other barriers still overshadow the policy change?
And one of my questions was to the minister today was, how about hawkers, for instance? Is a hawker classified as a personal thing for imports? It wasn't quite clear. All they said is personal imports, not businesses. But hawkers don't have a license. So would they be classified as a personal import? It wasn't quite clear. But for now, let's assume it will cover them because they get stock. Some of the stock from South Africa come in here and do their hawking and as vendors here. So I'm hoping that they will be included. And indeed, you told me that they work on razor thin margins. They do. Most of them. It's what they sell. Profits are so small, and if they lose something, even I don't care, however small, they make a loss from those goods. So I'm praying and hoping that they are included as part of the personal importers of this country, even though they are hawkers or vendors.
Yeah, interesting indeed. And from the business community's vantage point, which sectors tend to gain immediately from the higher threshold? Is it retail? Is it logistics, cross-border SMEs? What would you assert there?
No. None of those should be gaining. You must remember the whole target here, the whole revision is targeted at families. It should only be families that are benefiting from this. And we are hoping that people will not be importing 10,000 because somehow they don't declare and they go and resell at some business. Now that would be very wrong. And we know for sure that's not the spirit behind this revision where people will say, five of us, let's go, we'll bring in 10,000 each, knowing that you are going to be putting in a retail shop. I hope the authorities will be vigilant against that. I think it's wrong. It will be totally antithetical to the good spirit of this revision by the Minister of Finance.
Thank you for speaking to that flip side, because there's a lot of worry around, this possibly opening room for abuse, for smuggling or under declaration, for lack of a better term. Do you see this as a real risk? I mean, you do see it as a real risk, but the question would be, what safeguards does Business Eswatini believe should accompany this new threshold to sort of, guard us, be guardrails for that possibly happening?
Look, I think, and certainly the viewers watching us everywhere, online everywhere, they know we live in an imperfect world. Not all of us are honest. And as such, there's always that possible room for people to abuse something. They will try to abuse it. And I'm hoping the people who are creating those regulations now, some of whom I told that I'm coming to your program, and I hope they're watching us. Please, they should draft them in a manner to ensure that it's not easy for people to cheat. How they can do that, it's up to their creativity, but certainly we cannot afford that people start abusing it, and probably the ministry start to say, hey, maybe let's revert to the 1,000. We don't want to go there. Just 1,000 is too cumbersome, and it's really a futile exercise. So I'm hoping the regulations will ensure that there are enough guardrails against possible abuse by operators, be it businesses or the people, the personal consumers who are feeding businesses one way or the other.
That's quite good. Government has spoken about creating a more business-enabling environment. That is what they call it. I believe in your assessment. Your assertion is that this policy is indeed a real step forward. It's not just a headline, and I want you to speak to that and further, substantiate that.
Look, we are always in constant communication with government, and I must say that they have been viable partners in the gospel of them creating an enabling environment. They also knowing that an enabling environment always creates room for businesses to succeed and to grow, and when they succeed and grow, they hire people. And there are more people, there's more taxation coming to government. So why in this together? And I just want to, as we close the year, to be honest with you, to appreciate that viable partnership which we have enjoyed with government, that they've tried as much as they can. But obviously we still fall short in terms of creating the most ideal and conducive environment for businesses in various areas. I know in company registrations, I know IPA is creating a one-stop shop which will add value to the whole thing in terms of attracting special talent from overseas. For instance, if someone started IIBusiness, it's kind of hard to even get a work permit on that. Factory shells are not available, ideal office space. There are lots of things that are missing, but at the same time, as a destination for investment, we're not that bad. Government has really tried their utmost best. It's just that sometimes your best is always not enough in the grand scheme of things, especially where there is ferocious competition on foreign direct investment in particular.
Absolutely. I love the glass half full perspective while also being awake to some of the problems that persist because that then informs how we continue to remedy those. Business Eswatini's Chief Executive, Inathi Dlamini, speaking on the economic impact of this new threshold announced by Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenberg. He asserts he is not changing this policy willy-nilly, no pun intended there. regulations are still coming, which will further inform some of the other questions that we've heard for him. Otherwise, we will contact him again once the regulations come out and we continue to have this conversation. Let's go for a quick ad break. We'll be back shortly with more.